Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello everybody at home and welcome to Houselights, House of Anderson. Tonight we are talking about Darjeeling Limited starring Owen Wilson, Adrian Brody, and Jason Schwartzman. Tonight, as he is every single time we hit record on our laptops, is the one, the only, the bald and beautiful John Mills. How are you doing tonight?
Well, I'm flattered that you think I'm beautiful, but wow, bald. Please, like I need a reminder. You know, there comes a time in your life where everybody feels a bit like Bill Murray trying to catch a train. So that's kind of where I am right now.
And how defeating is that? Is that like you were running with baggage, trying to make the train, and a guy who's behind you and then runs next to you gets on the train and you don't, and then you see that ever little smirk on Adrian Brody's face, like, I just did what you couldn't.
Well, see, Brody has a huge advantage with his legs, right?
He's got like 6 feet long legs.
He's like 75% leg. So he's got a stride that just can't be beat. Like, he started obviously way behind, but you can't rule out the horse. And he was obviously in an extreme rush because that train must have had Wi-Fi so he could go and give an iTunes rating and review to Houselights, which we would very much appreciate.
And if you have a low center of gravity like Bill Murray, it might take you a little bit longer just to get to that button. But we know that you can do it. So please, please, please give us a rating at Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. And if you want to check out some of our other episodes or, you know, some other shows that are on the network, all you got to do is go to thenerdparty.com. And if you want to email us, talk to us about how you think we're doing, or if there's any specific director you would like us to talk about, go to thenerdparty.com/contact. From there, you can fill out the form and it'll send us an email, and we would love to hear from you guys. We're also all over social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just search either The Nerd Party or Join Nerd Party. All right. I'm looking forward. I have been looking forward to this one. Not so much from a movie standpoint, not just because it's interesting or because it's Wes Anderson, but because you've never seen it before.
Correct. I never have. This is a gap in my Wes Anderson viewing. I mean, I know I sort of returned to this point. And what's interesting is as we go through, right, House of Fincher, there were definite ones where I was like, oh, well, I had kids and, all of this stuff and things going on in my life. So I missed this one in the theater. With Anderson, oh, well, lots going on in my life at the time. So I missed this one in the theater. Notice that never happened with Nolan. It's interesting. Like, you can sort of immediately tell a bias in preferences here. But aside from that little thought experiment, no, I did miss this because my memory, and it could be very faulty, my memory is that it was one where I put a pin in it. And I said, you know what, I do want to go catch it. But then it wasn't around long enough for me to get to the theater. So it might have just been regional for me. I don't know what the reception was for this worldwide, nationwide, what have you. But in my little part of the world, my memory tells me that I just never really got the shot to go catch it. Like, I couldn't move fast enough in a 3-week window, and then it was maybe just playing at 10 o'clock at night or something like that. And by that point, I'm waiting for video no matter what.
I think it has something like if something in the 70s. I could be completely wrong when it comes to Rotten Tomatoes. It might have. I think a lot of critics liked it, but it did not find its audience. I mean, this was, besides Bottle Rocket, this is his lowest earning film, and I think it only had a budget of $17 million, and it made, I think, 33 back.
Well, I mean, that's not terrible. That's not like total lost territory, but it's not phenomenal.
It's not like Life Aquatic territory where it was an actual loss. I mean, like it doubled its budget, which is kind of the rule of thumb when you say it was a success, but it's kind of hard when you look at it as a low earning as it was, c'est la vie. But this one, I didn't see this one in theater either. I didn't see a lot of Wes Anderson in theaters for some reason. which is weird too, because this came out in 2007, and so I would have been in college at the time. And when I was in college, I saw tons of stuff that I wouldn't have normally seen in the theater. Like now, oh my gosh, I am such one of those people who I'm like, you got to give me explosions if I'm going to see something in theaters. Like I need somebody in a tight rubber suit, or you got to give me explosions, or somebody's got to get shot 16 million times like Peter Weller at the beginning of RoboCop. Like,
yes,
like don't give me, a black and white conversation of coffee and cigarettes. Like none. I can watch that at home.
Right.
And I know that's why the mid-level, the medium budget movie and the low budget movie is dying. I know that. Okay. I know I'm a part of the problem, guys. Okay.
But, yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is they sink themselves. I mean, because I think even people with kids would be more willing, I'd be more willing to go to the theater without saying I got to see great fight scenes or I got to see some sort of spectacle or something like that. If the ticket prices were a little lower and it wasn't such a pain in the butt sort of thing, I remember one of the reasons I went to so many movies when I was younger is because they were the cheap alternative to going out. I didn't have the money to go out, but I had the money to go see a movie. That was nothing. That, I burned 2 hours. Now, 2 hours is harder to come by, but you make it a better cost-benefit analysis. Yeah, I'm definitely going to go.
That's true because, when I was in college, I think that's why we did it so much is because it was like $5 for a college student.
Right.
To go to a movie, and that's what you did. Like, and I went to you could barely call it a college town. Like there was nothing to do in the town that I went to university. And so, my girlfriend at the time, whenever that was, that's what we did. We went to go see movies. And so we saw everything. And I'm really surprised that I didn't see this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until it came out on DVD that I watched it. And just right off the bat, this is not one of my favorites. Like I didn't connect with it. I didn't get it. It wasn't so much. It wasn't like with Life Aquatic. When I saw it the first time, I just didn't get it. Like I didn't understand the humor. I didn't understand what tone it was going for. I just wasn't in the right frame of mind, like we talked about last week. With Darjeeling Limited, I understood it. I knew what they were going for. Like it's pretty obvious to get the tone and what he's trying to hash out. It just didn't jive with me.
Let me ask you this question because this is my first viewing and I'm in the same spot where I get what he was going for. I was not particularly engaged. I actually thank you because you sent me that short film that I guess accompanied it or was sort of a trailer for it, Hotel Chevalier.
Yeah.
Right? Which I was so uncomfortable during part of that. It just didn't seem to fit. And
with which part? Like when they started having sex, or
yes, yeah, it seemed, and I think that probably, and this is going to sound weird, I guess, but the fact that she gets completely disrobed and he doesn't even take off an article of clothing was that sort of thing always like it's just weird to me because it's like it's just this weird visual imbalance that. And I understand it's supposed to represent blah, 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 certain things, but like it just never works for me when it's like that, right? Because it just, I don't know, it feels exploitative.
I totally get it. I mean, and I think from a thematic standpoint, you would think it would be the opposite, right?
Right.
Because of, like you get this sense that she takes advantage of him, that she is the one there's a definite power imbalance. A power dynamic imbalance where like he wants to get away from her, but she keeps finding him and manipulating him. This is all stuff that you have to kind of read into it. And if anybody who's listening to this haven't watched the short film, you can find it on YouTube. I think it's great to watch after the film. Like Wes Anderson calls it kind of part one of the Darjeeling Limited. I think it's much more interesting to watch after you've watched the movie. But yeah, like I totally get what you're saying about like it is odd. I don't know why Natalie Portman chose this avenue to disrobe because this is the only time that she's done it.
But judging by her haircut, wasn't this around the time that Closer came out?
This was post V for Vendetta.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly when Closer came out, which I freaking hate that movie.
I wasn't enamored of it.
No,
but...
Closer came out in 2004.
Oh, okay.
And this came out in 2007.
But it's still sort of in the same area, I guess. I mean,
they would have filmed Closer
Yeah.
in 2003, and they would have filmed Darjeeling Limited 3 years later.
Yeah, okay. So never mind. Nuts to me. Yeah, I just, for something that is supposedly part one of the Darjeeling Limited, my sense, especially after having seen the movie now, is it's unnecessary. It almost seems like a way to apologize to Natalie Portman. Like this is something that got cut from the movie. And he said, oh, wait, no, we'll make it a short film for you to appear in so that you're not just in a single shot in the movie. This is an important piece of the art. And it, it feels like it's sort of like trying to make up ground there.
I don't know. I don't think so, because this really did feel like a standalone short film to me. Like this felt like it was. My wife and I have seen Darjeeling Limited a handful of times, but she'd never seen the short film before, and I've seen it, and so we watched it together last night. And she's like, "Oh my God, that was such a student film." She's like, "Obviously, like with great, like you could tell it was well made, like well shot and well made and well acted, but it was still a student film because of the content."
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is that it feels very isolated because it does not take place in India. Natalie Portman flew to India for 30 minutes of filming.
I don't know. It's. I don't know. Maybe that's just because Anderson had, gotten into the hearts of actors. And so they were like, oh, yeah, I want to be in a Wes Anderson movie now. But I honestly, I want to throw this at you. Anderson's movies up to, and I know that we have sort of, with Royal Tenenbaums, it deals with the whole family. And maybe this is an indicator as to why Royal Tenenbaums never connects with me on the same level that Rushmore or Life Aquatic do. Is it seems to me that his storytelling style best serves a work that is focused on a singular character. And since this is focused on three characters at once, it feels a little too unfocused throughout it. Does that make sense?
Maybe a little bit, but I think I would argue that Adrian Brody's character is kind of the main focus. I feel like you get a lot of all of them, but I feel like we spend more time with Adrian Brody. Am I wrong with that?
I'm not talking so much about amount of screen time that you spend or anything like that. I guess you could say he's the main character. Maybe if I see it again, I'll say, oh, that's what Tristan is talking about. But my impression from my first viewing here is no. Like it's because we spend so much time with Jason Schwartzman's character and the fact that he's a Lothario with the woman on the train who's using him to make the train conductor jealous-ish or something like that. Like, and then you have the Owen Wilson thing. Like, it's just, you mentioned on one of our previous discussions that one of the criticisms Anderson gets is that he tries too hard, that there's a little bit of pretension about it.
Yeah.
And this is the first time where I really pick up a vibe like that, where it's trying too hard to be what it is.
I think this one doesn't strike a good balance with humor, introspection, and drama, where I feel like Life Aquatic is really whimsical, really funny, but it has its serious moments. And with Royal Tenenbaums, it was the same way, where it was really funny, fantastic script, and had a lot of levity, but just with a few serious moments. And so they earn those moments by like allowing you to relax. But with Darjeeling Limited, I feel like this is probably his least funny movie out of all the movies that he's made. But it wasn't for lack of trying in certain moments. I think there was just a lot of humor that didn't land. And there was a lot of strife between the brothers. There was a lot of backstabbing. And there was, there was a child dying. With other Anderson films, like you have like a guy who, like in Royal Tenenbaums, the serious moment that everyone's thinking about is when Richie tries to commit suicide. And when you have Life Aquatic, you have Owen Wilson dying in the helicopter crash. But with this one, you have a child literally die, and you get a great scene from Irfan Khan, who is the bereaving father.
Yeah.
Like he does an amazing job and says very little.
Yes. I agree.
I agree. And that is that's a long drawn out section of the movie, from where they see the boys on the raft to where they leave the village. I mean, that's a large dramatic section that is not funny in any way, shape, or form at all in between it. And I'm not saying it needs to be funny. It's just, it feels like an imbalance. It just, I don't know, the tone is kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And I think that's my issue with this film, is that it doesn't know, it's too easy to say it doesn't know what it wants to be. Because I don't think it's like schizophrenic in that way. Because I think that term is used too often. But with this one, I think it knows what it wants to be, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I think supporting that point is the fact that in terms of the tone being imbalanced is that, like you said, the section with the child dying and the bereavement and the funeral and everything, it's really heavy. And usually with an Anderson movie, he's wise enough to save the heavier part for the end.
Yeah.
Right? It sums everything up. And the thing is that's kind of the weird thing, I think, is that is, in fact, the spiritual experience that Owen Wilson is supposed to be driving everybody toward. And it feels like a natural ending to the story. They learn the lesson that you can't force the spiritual moment. It will come, and then you just have to be prepared for it. And there's a resolution there, and then it keeps going. And then it reverts back to Angelica Houston being the whimsical, silly mom doing the mannerisms that Owen Wilson is reflecting in what he does, sort of
like
thing.
Ordering for them, like figuring out what they want. Yeah.
And so I think that's probably what it is there's the story order is just screwed up. And I don't know if that's a product of the script writing process that turned that out, or second guessing, or for all I know, it's just that Anderson wanted to try something different and mix it up a little bit. Because, we have some time jump with a quasi flashback at one point sort of thing.
Yeah. So
maybe he was just trying something different and it just didn't work. And that's no great sin. But, I got to call balls and strikes here. It showed that his style didn't lend itself, to mixing it up that way.
It makes me wonder, you raise a really interesting point with that. Like, it makes me wonder if they cut that section down just a little bit, not a lot. Don't gut it. Just trim it down just a little bit. Don't spend so much time on certain shots. Tighten it up. But then have the Angelica Houston scene before that, and then see how that goes. It really makes me wonder how the flow would go, because this is only a 90-minute film.
Right.
And less than that if you take out the credits. So less than 90 minutes of content, but this feels long.
Yes, it does. Yes, I was surprised, because I did check the time when I was about halfway through, and I said, this is only 45 minutes? Like, it really surprised me. And the one thing I would definitely cut, in all seriousness, and I know I hope I don't get like some sort of reputation for being like a prude or something, because I totally am not. But Jason Schwartzman's lovemaking scene with the woman on the train is so unnecessary.
And it was also uncomfortable too.
Extremely.
The way that they filmed it and the certain and I'm not just going to describe it, but the certain things that Jason Schwartzman does, you're kind of like, I don't need to see that. Like, I don't, especially in a Wes Anderson film. Like, I don't need to see that kind of stuff.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And it's a shame because there are some fine supporting performances here. Like the train conductor who played Vikram.
Yeah, I really wanted to see more of him.
Yeah, he was awesome. He was great when he comes in and he's scolding them and he says, "Okay, you guys are off the train on the next stop."
And when he throws the money up against the wall,
yes, and then he opens the door, so because the brothers are listening, and he just opens the door. It's a really good performance like that. He really takes command of the scenes that he's in, and the love affair stuff, the on-train love affair stuff just winds up detracting from it, actually.
I feel like maybe we got at the root of this, where this could have been a much better ensemble piece.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if we focused on the experience of the train more? Like, is that a possibility where it's the train is not just a vessel of getting them from point A to point B, but what if the experience is the train itself? And I'm not saying like Murder on the Orient Express or anything like that, but like, what if they interacted a little bit more with Kumar Palana's character who played Pagoda, but like interact with him more, interact with the conductor more, interact with Rita more, just have a little bit more interaction between the six of them. Mm-hmm. and make it a truly ensemble piece on the train. I feel like, because I really like Amara Karan as Rita. This was her film debut. We've seen her in a few more things since then, and I think she did a great job of what they showed her doing. I think if they excised the lovemaking scene, if you can call it a lovemaking scene, the sex scene, if you excise the sex scene, and but then like have them have some sort of intimate moment or some sort of flirtation all throughout, and then I'm rewriting the movie, and I shouldn't be doing that, but it's hard not to.
It's okay because you're going into your punch it roots, which is a show you can find on archive on the nerdparty.com. It's a delightful show, but there is also with Shar. Want to make sure, hats off to you, Shar. Great show. But there is, I'll go down in that vein as well. I kept expecting Bill Murray to show up again in some way.
Like he meets up at a different stop.
He gets at a different stop and he gets on and he has a Wes Anderson-y sort of confrontation with Adrian Brody of, you could have helped me get on the train, and had one of those sort of fun, frivolous moments that nonetheless define the Wes Anderson experience. So, and that's really weird that I go through the whole movie expecting that extra moment, because it just, in a sense, although I hate to use the example because I don't, people should be willing to break rules and everything. It feels like the Chekhov's gun thing, where it's, you showed me Bill Murray, I expect more Bill Murray,
Like, at least in Zombieland, when you saw Bill Murray, you got a great Bill Murray section.
Exactly. And it was very Bill Murray focused. I didn't need any more of him after that, but I wanted more of him after. And it's just, I don't know. And I think maybe then when we go to that scene, maybe that supports the idea that Anderson's trying to mix it up, because then when you have, that pan across and it shows everybody in the different sections, that was interesting visually, but it didn't, pay off, I guess. It wasn't a payoff of anything earlier in the movie.
Yeah, that was something that really intrigued me, because I really enjoy it from a visual perspective, but I also didn't know what they were trying to say with it.
Right.
Like, is he trying to say we're all on our own journey? That we're all trying to figure our own stuff out? I don't know what it's trying to say. And I think that's the problem, is that I think some critics are kind of like you, where they said Wes Anderson is clearly trying something new, but he's like, instead of moving forward, he's just kind of circling back.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem, is that he's clearly trying something new, but it's kind of falling flat a little bit, like Bottle Rocket.
Exactly. You're exactly right there. That was one of the thoughts that came to me, was this is like Bottle Rocket, where I could tell there was some really interesting stuff they were trying for, but it just didn't gel. And that is exactly the sort of experience it is. Yeah, I think you're spot on there.
Let's talk about what we did like, because I mean, we started right off the bat, talking about how we just didn't think the movie worked. And it's hard to kind of, audience, we want to be honest with you, and we don't, just because we like Wes Anderson and just because we like most of his movies, just same with Fincher. Like, we talked about what didn't work, and with Nolan, we talked about what didn't work. And this is one of those movies that just didn't connect with us. And so we're not going to lie to you and just,
right.
We're not going to lose access to Wes Anderson land like we would if we bashed a Disney film.
Nice.
So but I do want to talk about what we did like. I want to talk about what worked. I think the characterizations definitely worked of the three brothers. I liked their personalities and how different they were, even though they had the same kind of hangups. Like, you could tell they were from the same family and had the same kind of ideals, but they're three very different people. I enjoyed that. And also, it's a beautiful film. I think it's wonderfully made. I think the production design is fantastic, and I think the cinematography is great. And I think it really shows off India, but not in a very touristy way.
I agree with that. I do. Before I get into other things, I will say that I was immediately ready to love the film because he opened with one of my all-time favorite songs, This Time Tomorrow by the Kinks, which is off of the Lola versus Power Man album, which is one of the greatest albums in rock and roll history. There isn't a bad track on it. It's an amazing album. It's if you don't like it, there's something wrong with you, sort of thing. So he opens up with one of the strongest tracks off of that, and I was immediately in love. I was like, yes, I am ready for this. So I applaud his use of music in this, because he's always had a strong, sense of music. I do think that the music placement and its expression in scenes was perfectly done. It completely worked. I thought that, to your point, the grieving father, that was a pretty incredible performance, to have gotten all of the emotion across that it did with. I mean, did he say anything really? Like, I don't even really recall any words.
When he first sees his son's body,
yeah,
like we see him speak, and that's it.
Yeah, and that in and of itself supports your whole point about how beautifully shot it is film is a visual storytelling medium, and that section of the film, I don't need any Wes Anderson-y dialogue. And that's I guess what is sort of frustrating is that it almost feels like that section of the movie was settled and he had it in his head, and then he felt the need to put stuff around it,
which is often how Wes Anderson works.
Okay, well then there you go. This has to be that, that core that he put everything else around, and it's just the supporting stuff. I don't know what else could have been done to, you don't want to expand this out to a full 90 minutes of the grieving village sort of thing, but, so, use of music. I think that there are some really great dialogue sections, that are, really strong in there. There's some stuff that harkens back to some of the more emotive moments in Rushmore. Like when he's looking at her when the train is about to leave, and he says, "Thank you for using me as, whatever the word was," and because he asks her, he says, "Why are you crying? Were you pepper sprayed too?" She says, "No, I'm crying because I'm sad."
I love you both, but I'm gonna mace you in the face.
Right, and that's the thing is like that's a wonderful moment too, because it's a very Wes Anderson-y thing. He doesn't just pull out pepper spray; he pulls out this pepper spray Rube Goldberg machine with a cartridge that goes in like a gun, before he maces his brothers. And it's just, that whole scene is very funny. So yeah, I mean, there are good moments here. It just doesn't stitch together.
I think that's a perfect encapsulation of this film. It's filled with tons of great moments, but they don't stitch together. I think that's great, and I'm really glad that you brought up the music, because that's one of my favorite things about this movie is the music and the music placement. It does not have an original score. There is no original music in it. There's a few pop songs, and I think some of the other music has been taken from. I cannot remember the director's name for the life of me, but it's an Indian director that Wes Anderson truly admires, and where some of this movie was an homage to. And so he kind of Tarantino'd it, where he took the music from the director that he was, I don't want to say stealing from, because I think Tarantino steals and Wes Anderson, I think, does actual homages.
Okay. I'll take exception to the Tarantino thing, but go on.
Come on.
Just go on. Let's not go down the rabbit hole. Let's not go down. Yeah.
All right. I really enjoyed the flashback. It felt out of place, but in a good way. It felt out of place in a refreshing way. And it was also kind of strange, because I was just like, is Owen Wilson handsome?
That's such a hurtful way to put that.
I know it's a hurtful way to put it, but he's not a traditionally handsome guy. But he's not a bad looking guy. That's how I describe myself. But no, like Owen Wilson, like there's something different about him in the flashback, like the way he did his hair. I feel like they bronzed him up a little bit, and it was I don't know. It was just kind of strange. He had like piercing eyes.
You know what's weird is that moment reminded me a lot of Bottle Rocket as well, because I immediately thought of James Caan's setup in Bottle Rocket. Like it seemed to echo that. If that makes any sense, maybe it doesn't. I don't know whether it was just the setup of the car shop or something like that, or just the fact that I like it. If I looked at Bottle Rocket and I took that moment where they meet James Caan, and then I looked at this scene, I could tell it was the same director, even though one's way earlier than the other.
I don't know. I don't think I know what you mean.
Okay. In Bottle Rocket, James Caan's in it, right? And he's he owns the lawn company that is supposed to be, the front for everything and all of that stuff. The setup of his operation visually
is the physical location.
Right, the physical location, the way it's shot, the way it's dressed, the way it's designed, reminded me of James Caan's setup in Bottle Rocket.
I can get that. Yeah, absolutely. And I think out of that entire sequence, I like that it was a short story. Like, I like that he wrote it as a short story, and we actually got to see that moment. And Adrian Brody was clearly having a freak out. Like, he was clearly grieving. And that's why he was acting so crazy. And I really like that the mechanic just kind of went with it. He was just kind of like, he's like, oh, you're his sons. Okay. And then he just kind of let them be crazy. And then at the very end, when they all run out, Adrian Brody runs back and puts his arms around him and whispers something to him. And I really enjoy that moment, because I felt like you have no idea what he whispered to him. I mean, you can insert whatever you want, but I choose to insert an apology. Like it was I'm sorry, like I'm kind of losing my mind right now, and then he runs back. Yeah. Like, what do you think he said to him in that moment?
I think that is pretty much where I was with it, but probably something along the lines of, I don't know how to handle what's happening right now. So yeah, sort of that apology sort of line of not necessarily saying I'm sorry, but saying he's the one person that he admits he has lost control. He has lost his center and is suffering trauma. Because that's his whole thing, is when we first meet him on the train with the brothers, he's put up this wall where he is refusing to open up and let anybody in, or he's choosing, very selectively what he says to either brother about everything. especially with Owen Wilson. He doesn't like him necessarily.
Yeah. I think it's clear that like Jason Schwartzman and Adrian Brody have a better connection with each other than they do with Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
And I think part of it could be because Owen Wilson is clearly a man of means. Like, he's able to afford all this stuff. He's able to afford an assistant to come along, and he kind of like set up the trip and everything like that. So I feel like there was some sort of disconnection there. At least that's how I took it. But with Adrian Brody, like it's a year later, and he's still clearly grieving for his father. I mean, he's wearing his dad's prescription sunglasses. That was something that I can't. Like, I understand the affectation of why Wes Anderson introduced it, but it's something that is so distracting to me that I can't focus on anything else in the scene because I know that he's wearing prescription sunglasses that are making him have a headache.
Right.
And he keeps pushing them on his forehead so he can see. And when it's in the shot, that's all I can focus on. It's so annoying to me.
Do you think it's because they're too large, or is it just even if they had been smaller size sunglasses, you still would have just focused on that?
I think I would have focused on it no matter what. I think the size of them didn't help, but just the idea that this guy is having constant headaches and his eyes hurt all the time because he's like has some sort of weird connection to his dad. Like, I understand that we all grieve in our own way and then we do weird things when we grieve. Like I may be speaking out of my own depth or even out of turn, but it kind of makes me feel like you're an adult. Like, don't give yourself headaches for a year because you want to wear your dad's prescription sunglasses. Well,
fun fact is that can actually wind up changing your eyesight. So,
right?
That's a fun side fact. I mean, to your point, the sunglasses thing is distractingly off-putting. If it was just his dad's sunglasses, okay. If it was his dad's, but it's the fact that they say prescription that becomes the issue. I completely agree with you. But when he finds out that he's carrying his dad's keys, that's the type of affectation that makes complete sense. I actually have on my key ring, I have my late mother's keychain on there because it was her. It was her. She kept it on her car keys, and so I keep it on my car keys, and it's a little memento. You do that. You have the little memento stuff.
That I totally understand.
But she had a different prescription than me, and there's it is so weird because they can choose not to say prescription, and if they're just his dad's sunglasses, we just go along with it, and we say, okay, I get that, but prescription. That does wind up being distracting. I agree with you there.
And you question the mental stability of this character. And I'm not just talking about grief. I'm talking about mental stability. The sunglasses, the keys, other things like that. I like that Owen Wilson brings our attention to them and that he's upset by it. That's something that I feel like brothers would get upset over. And especially after a father has passed. Yeah, I think we've said what we needed to say about that section, but I'm actually glad that you. Oh, go ahead.
No, the thing is, I just wanted to hit on it, and I think maybe that's why one of the things that's frustrating that I didn't like this more is I've been through the whole thing with both parents actually, but like specifically with my dad because I do have an older brother, and he, I totally get the older brother.
This is where I was going to go in the conversation because I was going to ask you specifically. I said it was like you've lost both of your parents and your brother. I still have my parents and I have a half brother who I wasn't raised with, so I have no real connection with him. So I kind of wanted to ask you about this movie. Like, how did you relate it all to this? Was there anything that you could draw from your own personal experience that you'd be willing to share?
Sure. Yeah.
What's your perspective on this stuff?
That's the frustrating thing is he's getting at something that I like he's on the path to it. Now, I only have one brother, and so it's one of those things where I guess you could say I was more of, with the exception of the womanizing, more of the Jason Schwartzman type character where I'm just like, just let him go, just let him run the thing sort of like, because there's always a pecking order, in a family and stuff like that. And at moments like that, somebody has to say, okay, this is the role we're all going to play. You're going to lead this. I'm going to do this part of it, and I'm not going to try to step on over here, sort of thing. And so there is a sort of tendency toward conflict. Now, what I'll say is it's entirely possible that my experience was unique, specifically because my brother and I very early in the process hashed it out really quickly as to who was going to do what our role was in dealing with all of these things. And there was never a conflict. It was, well, stress gets to you sometimes, and so you fight. But like, there was never a conflict about who was doing what. Whereas these brothers, there's sort of a conflict, I guess. Although there's never a sense that Adrian Brody and Jason Schwartzman wanted to be in the lead of everything.
Yeah.
And so the conflict sort of works in a brotherly conflict sort of way, but it doesn't work in the context of people who aren't happy with who took charge. Does that make sense?
I feel like there's, I think sometimes you can see conflict arise where someone clearly doesn't want to be the leader, but they want to be asked to be the leader.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm getting at? Where
I do.
It's kind of like you see it in older stories where you have three princes, and like one prince has no business, like does not want to be king, like has no interest in being king, but they really resent the king not kind of like favoring them in some way. Where I'm not saying this is a 1-to-1. I'm saying this is the kind of conflict that can arise when you have someone who is a natural leader like Owen Wilson's character. And like we have a little bit of that with Adrian Brody's character where he kind of sticks up for himself. So he's like, could you please stop doing that? Like when you take out your tooth, could you say, please forgive this or something like that? And then when he says, he's like, don't order for me. You order for you, I'll order for myself. But then he ends up, be like saying, yeah, I'll have the cookies. Like he kind of reluctantly agrees that Owen Wilson knows what he's talking about in that regard.
It's interesting you mentioned the princes that don't want to be king, do want to be king, don't want to be king sort of thing, because one of the co-writers on this is Roman Coppola. And yep. So I instantly think actually of The Godfather is who's Fredo, who's Mikey, who's Sonny. And
well, you have Schwartzman, who's a Coppola.
That yes, and his aunt was a Coppola who was in the movies, and the Coppolas are everywhere. That's the point of the conversation right there. Is Francis Ford Coppola's family took over Hollywood at some point?
Well, that's why Owen Wilson's character is named Francis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. I didn't know. Very
and
clever.
Jack is named after Jack Nicholson, and Peter. I'm blanking. I'm completely blanking on why Peter is named Peter, but it'll come to me.
Let's just say Peter Bogdanovich, because why not? Right? That'll give everybody that's listening.
It is. I just looked it up. Yeah.
Yahtzee. All right. Yeah. But, I don't know. I mean, I come back to it's almost, I guess, like there are just two different movies going on here, and they just don't mesh. Like Steve Zissou is sort of in the danger category of having that happen, but it never does. It stays focused, and I think that's because it's focused on one character. Whereas this, I think that it just doesn't do itself any favors. It's like two different movies, and having the three brothers doesn't help it find a way to mesh. I mean, even the fact that Hotel Chevalier focuses only on one of the brothers, well, shouldn't there have been three separate movies leading in?
Oh, man, that would have been interesting.
Right?
I would have liked that. I would have really liked that.
It would have worked.
I think like maybe we see Adrian Brody leave I think we would see him leave to go to India. I think that would be his thing. And I think Owen Wilson, you would probably see his accident, right? Or his recovery, like he's waking up in the hospital, maybe.
In the hospital, yes. Waking up in the hospital because we get the reveal later on that it wasn't, a car accident. I drove my motorcycle into a hill.
I feel like one thing is that I love metaphor in film. I love it when it's done well, and I love it when you how do I phrase it? Like I guess I can't say anything more beyond when it's done well. This one, I like that it's packed with metaphor, but it's so obvious. Like when Owen Wilson takes his bandages off and he literally says, I guess I still have some more healing to do.
Right.
Yeah, okay, great. And at the very end, when they all decide to let go of their baggage.
Yes. Absolutely correct. And this is the funny thing. I'm glad you said that because it reminded me of something I wanted to say to you as a fellow Futurama fan, is there were several moments where I felt like the robot devil during Fry's opera, where you can't just have characters saying how they feel. That makes me angry. Like, there were so many moments like that where it was like, all right, come on, try a little harder to dress it up a little, you know? But yes, you're absolutely right. That is exactly right. That is a big thing where it's like the metaphor should be natural. It shouldn't be, I created this. You know what? It gets back to what you said about Hotel Chevalier, where you said your wife, you know, this feels like a student film, a really well-made student film. I would extend that criticism to this.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's rough. I don't know if I would go that far.
Well, I just did, and I'm not willing to pull back.
Well, and I think there you have it. I think. Like before we close up, I do want to say one little bit of trivia. So, Bill Murray, who we both love and adore, he was supposed to film for 3 days, and he got all of his stuff done in a day and a half.
Ha.
And he's like, what do I do now? And so he stayed in India for a month.
This is why we love Bill Murray.
He just like walked around and stuff for a month.
I love that guy. If there's anybody that just seems to have just really gotten how to just enjoy where life put them, it's that guy. It really seems that way, doesn't it?
And Natalie Portman kind of did the same thing. Like she went there and filmed for 30 minutes and then spent 10 days in India. Because like, why wouldn't you? Like if you're an actor who like flies around and you only have to shoot for a day, why not, enjoy the free plane ticket and just and lodging and just live.
I completely agree. And you know what? One other tiny criticism that I will throw at the movie is I am sort of angry that he cut off the points on some of the letters with his usual font. It bothered me.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you so much for subscribing, and thank you in advance for telling your friends about the show, because we really, really like doing the show, and we have a lot of fun doing it. And knowing that you guys are out there listening, writing us letters, writing us reviews, messaging us on social media and everything like that really, really makes us all worthwhile. And we just thank you for devoting some of your week to us every single week. Now, John, where can we find you on the internet?
Well, just look for Kessel Junkie, KESSELJUNKIE on your social network of choice. Letterboxd, Goodreads, probably the better ones. I am on Vero, much to Tristan's chagrin, but I am on some of the more traditional social media apps as well. You can find me here on the Nerd Party Network, co-hosting Aggressive Negotiations, a charming little Star Wars podcast where we don't concern ourselves with what's upcoming or late breaking news, but sort of the deeper philosophical material of the galaxy far, far away. And Tristan, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me at The Insane Robin at pretty much anywhere. Twitter and Letterboxd is probably the most fun you'll find me at. And you can find me at some archive shows at thenerdparty.com. Punch It, Second Contact, Nerd Nuptial, all shows I'm very, very proud of and that you guys should check out. And also, one thing that I just realized is that we haven't given a rating.
Oh, that's true.
For the movie. And for those of you who have already tuned out because we started into our spiel about where you can find us, you're going to miss out on the rating. So, John, what star rating would you give this? How many train cars?
This is going to paint. This hurts me. This really, really hurts me to do this. 2.
2, a straight 2.
A straight 2 out of 5.
That's pretty. I mean, on my ranking system, a 2 is straight bad. That's what a 2 is for me. You grade harsher than I do, though.
I don't know that I will ever revisit the Darjeeling Limited. It's possible if I'm scanning around and for some reason Fox Searchlight decides, sure, we'll put a Wes Anderson movie on Netflix. I might stumble across it and say, maybe I was too much of a jerk last time and try it out, but I don't see actively going for this movie in the future.
With me, when I watched it last night, I wanted to make sure that I logged it in Letterboxd, and I gave it a 3. And a 3 from me on my system is liked it, but it has its issues. After talking about it with you, I don't know, man. I think I'm going to have to hit it with a 2.5, missed the mark.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough.
I think that's where I'm at. And I hate to do that, but it's just like we talked about. It's a collection of great moments that don't make a good movie.
Yeah. So I look forward to seeing if he bounces back with next week's movie,
which is Fantastic Mr. Fox. And I am so excited to talk about this movie with you. Have you seen this one?
I haven't seen Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Gosh. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. All right, well, tune in next week, guys, because that is going to be a treat.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.